Hello everybody, guys and girls and anything in between. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you joining us and just want to share with you some findings. So as the title says, jumping right into it without the stupid intro music and all the this company sponsors me and that company sponsors me. No sponsors, front yard guy in the garage. All right, engine mounts. Here is a clear-cut go, no-go gauge for your engine mounts. This is the passenger side engine mount. Both of these are. One's old, one's new. So passenger side. Being that the engine turns clockwise, the torque reaction is counterclockwise. So there's always more strain put on the passenger side motor mount on these cars. Another thing is that when this little plastic fellow here, the valve cover starts leaking, it leaks right down inside that motor mount, and we all know what hot oil does to rubber. Well, maybe not all of us. It f***s it up pretty damn good, all right? So I'm trying not to curse on my videos anymore. I'm trying to keep it kosher, you know, just in case little kids are trying to learn about cars here. Anyway, in case anybody was wondering, that's a V6 Camaro that lives down the street from me and loves to leave his house and all the way down the street in first gear. Guy can't drive for crap. Even if he got a real Camaro, he wouldn't be able to know what to do with it. Anyway, staying on task. As you guys can tell, he kind of pisses me off. Staying on task. Okay, counterclockwise rotation of the engine block because of torque reaction. Hot oil landing down inside of the engine mount, way down inside of there. You can see that I've got that one removed. Obviously, you already know that because it's up there on the bench, and you can kind of see how oily that spot is. So I went from the top, and I took a 16mm socket and a really long extension. Disconnect your battery before you do that so you don't short out on your positive terminal, especially because most people don't put these caps back on, or they put them on backwards and they're loose. And then you got a whole bunch of metal that you could ground out to. So it's best to disconnect your battery before doing this. I warned you, okay? Remember how many computers are in that little e-box right there. So 16mm from the top, and then it's a torque socket from the bottom, which I'll get you that size once we get underneath there. And you just jack this side of the engine up. Don't jack it up from the middle, jack up this side, and it'll tilt it that way. And it'll give you enough room where you can kind of spin that motor mount around and twist it to the side and drop it out of there, okay? I'll kind of demonstrate that underneath there if I can. So your go, no-go gauge. Let's look at it. So let's push the new one back and let's just look at the old one, okay? So let's go across this rubber and we're sitting right on top of it right there, okay? We can clearly see that we're sitting straight across on top of that. All right, now let's go to the new one and look at that gap, okay? So the metal definitely settles in, and so does the rubber. And then you can actually end up with unwanted contact down inside of this motor mount, which will then transfer the vibration from the engine to the chassis, and that contributes to feeling like you have a rough idle. So if you've done a whole bunch of stuff trying to cure a rough idle, but you haven't done your engine mounts, at least consider doing the passenger side one. It's pretty easy, and it does make a pretty nice difference. All right, I recommend doing both, especially if you're higher in mileage and time. But if you gotta just do one for now, just do that one. And I scored that engine mount for, I wanna say just over $100, like $111. All right, so now let's take this new one and go back underneath, okay? I like to put a little Loctite on the bolts so you can see that I have red locker there and the old bolts right here. Okay, you can see their torques, and the size is, you'll probably see it before I do. Focus. E12, there you go. So you need a 16mm, a bunch of long extensions to get that top one, and maybe a magnet to retrieve the nut. And then an E12 for down here with a short extension like that. I've just got my floor jack. It's kind of sketchy, but what I did was I cribbed it with some wood up above the subframe right here. You see I got two pieces stacked up, so that way if my jack would shoot out of there, the engine could land on the subframe, right? And a pretty decent size of wood up there so it doesn't crack the oil pan open, okay? Not just a tiny little block. You need to be able to distribute that force across some distance so that way it doesn't crack the oil pan and then you're doing a huge job, dropping the subframe and all that. It's not even really that bad. And well, that's what you got to do to fix this oil pan gasket leak that you have here, right? Which is common to so many of these E90s. And now, without further ado, this is where the engine mount sits. So you can see that's where the top nut goes in. You can see where I kind of have it cribbed up. This looks like it's in the way, but it's really not, because the engine mount actually comes out from back here. Now it's kind of dark up there, but that's where it comes out of. So the way I take it out of there is kind of sideways like this, with that slant pointing the direction you see it, and just kind of wiggle it and drop it out of there, okay? I'll try to get it back in there on camera. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world. Just bear with me here while I struggle. I'm sure there's an easier way of doing this, like just yanking the whole engine out of the car. But also leads me to wonder if my jack might have sagged a little, because it feels a lot tighter going back in right now. So I'll jack it up some more and then I'll wiggle it in there, but you get the point. We get that little stud that you see sticking up right there into the hole, and then rock this baby into place like that, okay? And then just tighten up on your lower bolts and your top one, and just don't kill them. I don't actually have the torque specs for them right now. I should have probably got those for you guys ahead of time. Sorry about that, but I wouldn't put any more than, say, 20 Newton meters on this. Probably less than that, probably 15 or so. And then up here, maybe 20, 25 for the most. I'll just snug them up with a little Loctite on the bottom ones. It's not gonna go anywhere. All right, it's not so critical, but just make sure you get all your hardware back in there. And also another thing, clean up the surfaces too, so that way it keeps the torque. That's another good suggestion. All right, but this is also a good reason to clean up your engine bay, take care of your oil leaks and stuff, because this just becomes a cup for oil. All right, so hopefully that explains it. If you have some customers that are wondering, why do I need to change my engine mount? Go ahead and show them this video, and that's a clear-cut explanation as to why. And as a matter of fact, let's look at the other side while we're under here, so we could see the difference. Try to take my little headlight off so I could get some light up in there, but get a little focus going, that'd be nice. You see there's a gap there on that one. It's not huge, but it's there. The other side didn't have that gap. The other side, I was right up against the pillow rubber that's on the side. And let's see if we could see the mark from it on this one. Yeah, you can. You can see right there where it was hitting that little cushion that's on the outside of the mount. Lost my light, sorry guys. Shaky, crappy footage, but yeah, right on top of there. So once it starts sitting on top of there, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's your no-go gauge right there. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As I usually say when I'm already standing up and out from underneath my car or my customer's car, have a nice night or evening or day, whatever. Don't drink and drive, wear a mask, be safe. Hopefully this helped you, and hopefully you'll join us again.